I'm back. Well, here we are on another one. What have I got this time? Well, I recently did a sort of video about how Gibson could make a great guitar. And a lot of guys came back and said, oh yeah, well they would. It's a custom shop model. You know how they are, these guys. They have to argue sometimes. But okay, I took that on board. And then I went out and had a look for a cheaper guitar. Sounds a good idea. But the fact is that since that review, I went out and bought a really cheap guitar to sort of do up, show guys what they could do with a really cheap guitar, which turned out to be a lot of rubbish really. So I then went and looked around for a sort of medium price, sort of £500, sort of $750, $800 guitar, and I really struggled. In fact, I struggled so much that I ended up with one of these. Now you might ask me, hey, what's one of these? Well, I'll tell you. It's a Gibson 2016 Studio. Yeah, take a look. There it is, in its case, just as it came to me. In fact, I've played it once and put it back in its case so we could do the review actually, so I know what I'm talking about. It's a good idea. So what we're going to do is we're going to get this one out and we're going to have a bit of a chat about the 2015 Les Paul Studio Traditional, they called it that, and the 2016 Les Paul Studio Traditional, which is this one with the gold bits and all the rest of it. And you might be surprised at actually how good this guitar is, and we'll talk about things like what it actually cost as opposed to what you think it cost. It's a good idea, eh? Yeah, let's do that. Let me get it out of the case. Well, while we're on the subject of the case, just before we carry on, this case isn't like the 2015 traditional case. The 2015 traditional case was like a, you know, one of them formed type of case things. I don't like them myself. This is actually just like a Les Paul case. Just exactly what you'd expect. It's not a cut down version, it's absolutely the same. So now we got that out of the way, let's go on to the guitar. Well, there it is, out the case, and looks pretty cool to me. It might look pretty cool to you as well. Of course, it's only a Studio, it's a sort of cut back version, and we'll cover that when we get in a bit closer. And as I run around it, we'll talk about the 2015 and the 2016 versions and the differences between the two. So you get a bit of a good idea what this one's about. But I have to say, this one's pretty cool. It's got a lot of very nice things about it. In fact, one of the nicest things about it is it's all good. It's real wood, it's not veneered, it's not this, it's not that, it's got a proper top on here. It's got loads and loads of features that are quite interesting, especially for the money. And remember that, the money. This isn't a standard and it isn't a custom. This is one of the cheapest Gibson Les Pauls they make of this level with the shiny bit on and things like that. Of course, you can get the cut down version Studios, which are even more cut down, and they start at like $700 or something like that, which is insanely cheap. Let's come back to this. And one of the things I like about this guitar is that when you buy it, they actually give you a picture of the actual guitar being set up by a Gibson guy. Yeah, it's got the computer there, it's got all the stuff and the bits they sign at the back, and yeah, your guitar. Yeah, very nice. And loads of other bits in there. You know the sort of stuff. I won't bore you with any of that. Just throw it out the way. But the picture I thought was really nice. Let's zoom in close and start looking at these features and comparing the two between the 15 and 16. Because the 2015 guitar, a lot of people talk about as being, oh, I don't like that one. And I have to say, the amount of people that have said to me, well, the 2015 one, it's this or it's that. But of course, there are other guys that say they're great. So, why didn't they sell? Well, they did sell, but not in the volumes that I think some people would have liked, especially Gibson. Anyway, there is a difference, and when we go and see this now, you'll realise that there's a lot of differences. So it's sort of almost taken the studio of an earlier year back to where it should have been, if you get me. The 2015 was a sort of variation. Okay, well, let's start off as we mean to proceed with this Gibson Studio T 2016. The 2015 model, by the way, had a list price of $1,229 US dollars plus tax. But the 2016 model goes up to $1,499 plus tax, which is a couple of $100, $180 more. I don't understand why, but well, maybe you will, maybe you won't. It's just something that Gibson's done. Now the 2015 and the 2016 both have split coils like this, but it's still $180 dearer. It says on the 2016, the Les Paul Studio 2016 delivers classic Les Paul tone, style and playing feel, as well as the versatile voices of split coil humbucking, all in a package that represents amazing value. Well, I think it does too, and we'll cover why as we move forward. Well, let's have a quick run through the basic spec. It says here, new and improved in 2015. Well, to be honest, a lot of guys thought it wasn't improved. It was a step in the wrong way with specification. And just looking at it here, I mean, it's got things like Gibson G-Force tuning system, which is like an electronic system at the headstock. 0 fret adjustable nut, which is still there on most Gibsons actually, a lot of Gibsons now. On the 2015 it had a wider neck and fingerboard, but on this one, actually, the neck's thinner. In fact, it's quite a lot thinner, and I like thin necks, so the 2015 may not have been for me. It says here there's comprehensive wood selection and grading on the 2015, but that applies to the 2016 too. It says there's a thicker rosewood fingerboard, increased mass for sustain, it says, absolutely on the 2015, but the fact is, on the 2016, it's still got the thicker rosewood fingerboard, so no change there. They suggest on the 2015 model that there's a comprehensive setup with lower frets, improved plex, work and intonation, and all the rest of it. Improved contact jack, Les Paul 100th birthday signature, well, never mind, and Les Paul hologram. But on the 2016 model, well, all those things seem to be there as well, or all the important ones like the setup, which I know is particularly good. But there are lots of other changes, as I said. I just wanted to cover most of the basic stuff from the off of the differences between those two. So don't compare the two too much because there are, looking at it, lots of differences. This one said, by the way, comprehensive setup, hand finished, expert setup. And there is an expert setup on it, which we will see in a moment. Now you also find on the 2015 and the 2016 that it's got a proper maple top, although this one doesn't look like maple. Well, it's been stained, but it is maple. But the main difference, on the 2015, in fact, it was a grade B top, and on the 2016 it's a grade C, so effectively you've had a downgrade of wood, but an increase in price. Interesting. It's multi-pieced, basically. There's a couple of pieces on this one, and it's multi-pieced on the 2015 too, medium density, and there's no binding on either of them, so that's about the same. Both the 15 and 16, by the way, have the Swiss cheese effect underneath this cap, you know, circles of wood cut out to make the thing lighter. Me personally, I like that. As you get older, you don't want to be picking up the heavy stuff. There's another difference too. This contour of the top, this maple top, on the 2015 one was very, very slight, so there wasn't really much machining going on. But on the 2016 one, this is called a classic carve, and this is more like a sort of regular Les Paul carve for the top. Worth knowing. Now on the neck, the main wood is mahogany. It's the same on both years of guitar, but and they're both rosewood on the fingerboard too, which is nice. There's a standard truss rod in both of the guitars, so nothing special there. Now, strangely enough, on this this neck, on both guitars, one says that it's got a fat profile and another one says that it hasn't, and things like that. But actually, when you look at the specifications, at the first fret they point 800 of an inch, and at fret 12 they're 875 of an inch. Or if you European boys want to get on it, it's 20.32 mil on fret 1, down that way. And it's 22.225 mil at fret 12, which are absolutely identical, no matter what anybody says. As you see when we get to the peg head a bit later, it's slightly different in its markings. On this 2016, it's exactly as you'd expect it to be. But on the 2015, it's all strange. Another difference, when we get down there, I'm not going to be showing you the 2015 because I don't have it, but I like to talk about them, then we can have a review of this guitar today. But the nut is substantially different on the 2015. You know, it's one of them 0 fret nuts. It says it's cryogenically treated, which means that the metal's been cold, basically. And on this one, this guitar's got a thing called a Tectoid material, and it's got a 1.695 inches width, and on the 2015 it's 1. Let's get this right. It's 1.795. So there is a little bit of difference there. Both the 15 and 16 guitars have exactly the same fingerboard radius, by the way. It's also interesting to note that the 2015 on the inlays are mother of pearl, and this 2016 is in fact acrylic. Fancy that. So the price has gone up and the plastic's gone up too. Things start to change a little bit when we start coming back to the pickups. On the 2015 they had what they call 57 classic and 57 plus pickups. The plus were in the bridge. But on this one, we've moved back to the, well, I'd call them an industry standard 490 and 498 pickup. This is a 498T, that's a 490. And, well, if you've never heard one of them before, you've been dead all your life, really. Everybody has them, and they've had them for a very, very long time. And if you're interested in measurements and things like that, on the 2015, this pickup, for example, was had a resonant frequency of 2622 Hertz. But on this one, it's 2012.49 Hertz. And also, the DC resistance on the 2015 was 8.25 kiloohms. And on this one, it's 13.9 kiloohms. So take that on board. It's interesting to note that the control cavity for both the 2015 are basically, they're identical, so don't look in there for anything. They're all exactly the same. So the components. Now on the 2015 you've got that G-force tuning, but on this guitar we've got Grover Green keys. We're going to be seeing them in a while, so I won't spend too long on that. The main difference is one's electronic and one isn't. You can really say more than that. On both guitars the bridge is identical. It's a Tune-o-matic bridge. I like these bridges. Only one interesting thing to notice, you notice here that they've got a little Allen key, so you can easily adjust rather than with these finger things that never seem to work. This stock tailpiece is also pretty much identical. Well, the 2015 had slightly different knobs on here. Most of everything to do with the plastics is pretty much the same. And like I said before, the 2016 case that came with this guitar is absolutely like a Gibson Les Paul case, and the 2015 one's not. So let's start to run through this guitar and forget the 2015 one. Like I said, importantly, you've got these coil splitters, which work very nicely. 490 and 498 pickups, these are gold. This one was a gold option. Doesn't make much difference. Well, it doesn't make any difference to the price, so I just thought the gold looked nicer with the red, because I used to have a guitar like that. We've got the standard run-of-the-mill thing. You can screw this off, by the way, if you want. But if you look at the top's nothing special, and it probably is downgraded compared to that 2015 one. But only downgraded in the respect of, you know, the figuring. It's still figured, but not really very much. Didn't really bother me because that wasn't what I bought this guitar for. I bought this guitar to sort of throw around and use, which, yeah, that matters. As I said, you've got standard bridge, standard tailpiece. Nothing special about either of those. They are absolutely regular Gibson. So Gibson Les Paul, that is. So, you know, just the quality's perfect. Usual thing. Nothing special there either. So let's move up the neck a bit. Now, one of the things I do like to see is these inserts put in there in a good way. I also like to see real wood, which, strangely enough, on that Custom Shop Les Paul that I reviewed not that very long ago, that had non-rosewood. Yeah, that horrible other stuff. But there you go. It's hard to tell the difference really when you're playing, I think. Well, let's come back to these inserts here. As you'll see there, it's pretty much nigh on perfect. I don't see any particular filler and things like that as it is on the cheaper stuff. So it hasn't been sort of cut back in quality anywhere. Although it's been cut back a bit in material to that Tectoid stuff. Now, moving along to the headstock, of course you're going to see differences between this and a Les Paul Standard, for example. A Les Paul Standard would have this sunk into the head, all the rest of it. This is just sort of painted on. It's not an insert at all. But it does revert back to the Les Paul model design, if you will, even though it says Studio on here. This is more standard rather than the 2015 Les Paul 100th, if you remember that, or has anybody seen that? Maybe I'll put a picture up there. But so you've got more of a standard jobby here, more what you'd really want to expect. And also, just take a look down here, and there we have it, an absolutely pristine and perfect nut. Not like the 2015 at all, which is a 0 fret nut, which is a piece of metal. But there it is. I guess if you wanted to change it, you've got to tap out from this end. But yeah, I've never changed one yet, so I don't think that matters much. So let's flip the guitar over and have a look at the back of the headstock. Now, unlike the 2015 that had the G-force on it, this is really, really very traditional. It's very standard Gibson, for want of a better phrase. It says here, made in USA, 2016. It says 16. Yeah. 2016 model. Maybe it was made in 2015, but it's a 2016 model, and that's the bit that matters. You've got your normal serial number across here, and that's been reworked to different things these days. But you do have very, very, very high quality tuners, and they really are as high a quality as they look. In fact, they look just like off a Standard. They may not be, but they certainly look that way. You'll notice as we move down the neck too, to this sort of area, there are no scarf joints or anything like that. It's all made from one piece of wood and carved out, which is what you'd expect from a Les Paul, really. Even though it's a cut down version, the important things, all these important things, still matter, and they're all exactly, or near enough exactly, like a real Les Paul Standard, but at a cut down price, which is what I like. Let's move down the neck a bit. In fact, if you didn't really know, you could almost decide that that was a Les Paul neck. It's not really very different, not at all. You've got the same type of fitting of the neck to the body, which is a tenon. I've covered that. Well, I didn't cover it, but that is what it is. And you've got the same quality woods. There's nothing been cut back here, and it doesn't look anything different than what you'd expect it to be for a Les Paul Standard. So in that respect, once again, it's pretty much, quote, standard. Well, there you go. Apart from these two back covers, it'd be pretty much very difficult to determine whether that was a Les Paul Standard, whether it was a Les Paul Custom, or whether it was anything else. I can see, I reckon, one join on the back of that, and all the rest's pretty much solid, really. Yeah, so I could be wrong, but to me it looks like there's one join just there. Yeah, apart from that, it's all mahogany, it's all light, and it's all nice, and it's all what I expect for a Les Paul standard, really. So no surprises there. Let's go and take a look inside this cover, because I know a lot of you will want to see that. So in the control cavity we have the now infamous Gibson backing plate, which is like a PCB. A couple of capacitors, there's one down there and there's one there. We have got regular sized pots, which are actually branded Gibson, by the way, just in case anybody asks. And we've got these two switch pots, which are probably Gibson as well. You've got a little connection here, goes down to the PCB, that goes off to the bridge, up there, see it? And apart from that, it's all very nice and simple. You plug the bits in, or you unplug them out. What more could you ask for? So the quality doesn't suffer there. I think the plate has a lot to be desired. It actually looks cheap to me, that does. But apart from that, it's all very nice and exactly what you'd expect. So here we are back up top. I hope some of you guys have learned a bit about the Les Paul Studio of 2016, and indeed the comparisons between that for the 2015 Les Paul Studio. After all, they're a reasonable price guitar. You could use one of these for a very long time. It doesn't have all the niceties of the, the binding or down the neck. It doesn't have any of that, for sure, as you'll well have seen on the frets when we were looking at the inserts and things like that. But you know what? It's more of a guitar it's a player's guitar, and it is built down to a price, but the quality isn't compromised. And what I've seen of most of the other things out there at the sort of £500 or $750, $800 price, that one way or another things are compromised. Either there's no case, or the case is crap, or it isn't real wood. Even on the PRSs, the cheap PRSs, the £600 ones, the Tremonti ones, for example, it's just a veneer. So they make the thing look, it's a bit like a dog's dinner. It's been done up to look more like a poodle, which isn't really the answer. What you need is proper wood, and this wood's at least 1/4 inch thick at the bottom here, and then you've got this, so you're probably back on a 1/2 inch thick piece of maple top to start off with. And then the wood at the bottom is the sort of mahogany that most of us would know, as opposed to when you look at those cheaper guitars, even the Epiphones, some of those, you'll find that the wood isn't quite the same. It's sort of somehow different. And if we stoop down as low as the Harley Benton, well, it's called mahogany, but not as we know it. This is the stuff that you'd expect it to be, which is very nice and exactly like a Les Paul, really. Well, let's come back to that thing of why I made the video, apart from having a bit of a review about this. This was this video was developed to show you a cheaper Gibson guitar as opposed to the $4,000 thing that I had on the other video, where this cheap guitar, or relatively cheap guitar, was actually of perfect quality, and this one is perfect. It's exactly what it should be. And it's strange that people say to me, Tony, there's thousands of crap ones, you know they're all over the place, you don't know what you're doing with these. Well, look, I've bought a number of Les Pauls over the years, in fact many, lots of different ones, lots of different models. I've never ever had a bad one. This was just ordered from a company called GAC, or G8 Guitar Amp and Keyboard, in the UK. They sent it me for the next day. By the way, the service was perfect from them guys. They were as cheap as I could buy it from any company. Cheaper than Anderton's, by the way. You Andertonites. This was 50 quid cheaper and probably better. Who knows? But the fact is, it arrived. Could have been sold to anybody. It was sold to me, and it is perfect. And that's the point. It's perfect, which is what I keep saying about most Gibsons, or at least the ones that I've experienced with. If I had this guitar and it came crappy, you mark my words, I'd be the first guy in the world to say so. You go and ask the Harley Benton boys. If it's rubbish, I will say so. But it isn't rubbish. It's pretty awesome, and it sounds good too. And I might stuff a bit of that at the end, or I might not, I don't know. Everybody else is playing them, so you don't really need me, but I might. Depends what time I've got. Here I am on a bank holiday Monday, nothing to do. Now I do want to give just a bit of analysis about the price of this thing. You know, in America, what they do is they don't have any local tax on the price of the thing on the wall. They add that extra. So what I wanted to do was to take off the tax from this. Well, this cost me £950. It's about $1,300. So I'm getting discount from the list price, which is $14.90 something. Anyway, but the point is, if I take the VAT off, that's what they call it in England, I've got to take 20% off the price. So that's about 180 quid, or 180 pounds as they say in England, or $250 to everybody else. So if I take 180 pounds off 950, that's about 820, or give or take. Yeah. So let's work on 820. And then I can take that case, you know, that real Gibson case, and I can take 120 pounds off, because that's the cheapest I'm ever going to buy one of them. So that makes this guitar about £700. And which, if you relate that to the PRS Tremonti, it's a good example, that is, because it's priced sort of similarly. Yeah, that one's got a bit of an ear on the top, and this one hasn't. But this one's got the solid maple cap. And I'm not sure about the wood on the Tremonti, and I bet you neither is PRS, because they're made in the Far East. They're not made in America. This is an American-made, American quality guitar. And if you want to say this isn't good quality, well, yeah. So where I come from, it is a quality guitar. It's a quality American guitar, and you get exactly what you pay for. Real woods, real quality, brilliant setup, great sounds. What's left? So I would never go and buy the Tremonti. And the reason I wouldn't buy it is because this exists. If this didn't exist, well, then maybe I'd hover around a bit lower. But also remember this, that although this is a studio and it's all nice and shiny and the rest of it, they make them absolutely the same, but without all this finish. You know, it's a sort of matte finish, and it's cheaper again. So if you don't care about this glossy finish, well, guess what? You can buy basically the same thing, even cheaper than the sort of £700 I paid for this, without them other bits. So what you're ending up with is a guitar that's probably £500, and it's still a Gibson, and it's still made in America, compared to a Far Eastern guitar that isn't what it says it is, or isn't what it looks like it is. That's the better way of putting things. I want people to think about this and think carefully, because when you know, I'm not an American, but I've played Gibsons for a very long time, and Fenders, and all the others, you know, the Ibanezes and the rest. And I like them all. I like every brand. But it got to the point for me where I was listening to everybody, a lot of people saying, oh, Gibson can't this and Gibson can't that. There's the proof they can. And I could have come down even lower onto a semi-matte finish job. Even a couple of £100 cheaper, that'd have been about a $700 guitar or something. I don't know. And it would have been like this one. I know it would. Yeah, perfect. Of course, you experts, you're going to tell me different. A lot of people do. You know, I'm sure Gibson do make some bad guitars. It's just unfortunate they never send me one. And I just buy them just like you. Maybe you're just unlucky. I don't know. Anyway, it's a lot to think about. And, you know, the haters, no problem. I'll just ban you. Be civil and you'll get your point across. Not civil, oh, see you next year. Well, I won't see you at all. I'll never see you again. You'll be gone, man. Well, that's it for this video. And up there, I'll do it again. Up there, somewhere in the corner, I can't get this right. Somewhere in that corner, up there, yeah, You can see this little dot and it'll tell you all about my website and things like that. And it might ask you a question. Do you think this guitar's great, or do you think it's rubbish? And things like that. Or do you think the Harley Benton's better? Classic. I want to hear what you've got to say. Till next time. I've got a load more stuff coming up, so I've got to get on. Till next time. See you.